There we go.
Welcome to the New
Now we can
Author
dance.
Podcast, a weekly podcast diary starring Jerry Evanoff
You don't see enough positive news about global warming.
and Rich Kacy.
I usually do the smell test and the taste test. I usually don't do the look test too much, but sometimes, like if there's furry things growing on it.
Join them weekly as they talk about writing, publishing, and marketing their books. They'll talk about their successes, their failures, and everything in between. And along the way, they'll probably veer off the path a little and talk about gardening, television, their world travels, sports, or pretty much any other shiny thing that catches their eye. And now, here are your hosts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Author Podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, you can see we got a little bit of a different setup here. We're trying some different software out. This one looks like a lot of fun. It allows me to actually embed our podcast intro into the video, and you get to watch us dance. I wouldn't expect to see that next week, right, Rich?
No, I don't think so. In fact, I didn't realize that intro was so long.
It really is. I feel like everybody just fast forwards past it when they when it starts, which I can't blame. I do the same thing to
I do.
Mark
I know.
Well, Mark Dawson when I used to do the same thing. So.
Right.
Okay, so today is Friday, February 1st, 2025. This is episode number 297, and we are going to give this new recording way a shot. There's some fun editing stuff inside this program, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's called Riverside.fm. If anybody else knows about it, please let us know. Any tips or tricks, and you're watching on YouTube, comment, please let us know. Joining me, as he does each week, this time in much bigger of a frame than that little small frame we used to do on the YouTube, is Rich Kacy. And Rich, officially, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little bit frazzled. Today was a wild day at the library. I mean, it was just, I don't think I ever sat down for more than 5 minutes at a time. So I got a lot of calisthenics in terms of exercise.
You keep track of your steps anywhere?
Pardon me?
Do you keep track of your steps anywhere? Your step count?
I do. I didn't look at what they were today. The other day, when I came home, it was another similar frazzled day. I had like 9,000 steps.
So, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into this podcast. It wasn't the most eventful week for me this week. I'm currently editing a prequel novella that I fear is going to turn into a novel by the time I'm done with it. I've written a couple of these prequel novellas, and they've been around 25,000 words each. And I'm like in editing mode. I'm like 20% of the way through the editing, and I'm already at 32,000. I mean, it's going to end up being 40,000 words if I don't watch it. So
that's always my problem when I try to go set out to write a short story or a novel, or a novella, either one. It just keeps going and going and going.
And then you look back at it and you're like, I don't see anything I can cut. I like all of it, and the whole "kill your darlings" things comes into play there. So.
Right.
Yeah. So this prequel novella that I'm writing, I am doing it. I'm in the middle of writing, not actually 8 first drafts, not including the novella, but I wanted something to give away. So I've written 5 first drafts. I have 3 more to go, and I decided to go ahead and write and edit this novella so I can get it up on the book funnel ASAP and just start building a list so that by the time I'm ready to circle back to book 2 and edit it and publish it, then I'll have a big old list of what I like to call freebie seekers who will, hopefully some small percentage of it read this, they liked it, maybe they downloaded book 1 and they read it, maybe they'll go on to book 2. So that's kind of the strategy here. I am in the middle of chapter 8.5 right now out of, I believe, 22 that I have in this book. It's sitting at 32,894 words. It's actually up 2,146 from last week to that number. My goal last week was to get through the first 10, and as I said, I'm at 8.5 right now, so it was a fail. But I knew it was going to be kind of a big ask when I did it, because I wasn't even I wasn't even to chapter 5 yet when I started the week. I was in my 4.5, a new chapter I added that became chapter 5 eventually. So it's no big deal to me that I failed, that I made a lot of progress in it, and I actually came up with, I don't remember what it is. I'll get to it when I get to the outline of my weekly review, but I came up with something else about the story that really made me happy. I don't remember what it is. I remember last week I was excited because I came up with the character's reason for wanting to take on this murder mystery. And then I had to come up with something else. And I did. And I'll talk about it when I get to the weekly review, because I actually can't remember what it was. For the year, I did add what did I add? I added 1,176 new words because I had to finish writing that chapter 4.5. And those were all new words. And then I added a new scene at the beginning of another chapter, and that's where those 1176 came from. That puts me at 9,150. And again, I'm on track the goal is to hit 100. I can't remember if it's 140,000 or 145,000 now, but the goal is to hit that number by the end of the year, and that should encompass the 3 first drafts I have left and the rest of this novella. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. And then because I had that great New Year's Day writing session where I wrote some outrageous amount of numbers in a very short period of time. My word count per hour started up really high. Well, it's down about 160 words this week to 1,339 as I slowly work my way back down to around 1,100, which is around my average. So we're getting there.
Yeah, sounds good. That sounds like a good week. I had another really good week. It wasn't quite as big as the previous week. I didn't have any monster days of 6,000 plus word days, but I was steady at it. I wrote almost every day this past week, and that just added up over time. I did some editing on that romance novel number 1, and I realized that I had left a chapter out. And it's not like I plot this or anything, but I knew in the back of my head that there was a transition chapter I needed, and then I just forgot about it. But as I started re-editing it, I realized that I got to write a new chapter. Not to replace the chapter, but just to stick in between number 1 and the old number 2. And when it was all said and done, I had an additional 3,789 words to the story. So what I really ended up doing is writing 2 chapters, because that's way too long of a chapter for a romance novel. But that book now stands at 59,910 words. Now that will go down probably as I continue to edit my way through it, because I don't anticipate adding any more chapters unless, again, I forgot completely about what I was supposed to do. I did keep plugging away at writing new words almost every day for romance number 2. I tried to spend at least 2 hours a day on it, either at work when I could get away during my lunch and break periods, or at home when I got home in the evening if I had time. And by week's end, I had another 10,014 words over 4 chapters into that story. So again, those chapters are a little bit long, a couple thousand words per chapter for a romance novel. Those I suspect they'll go down a little bit when I get around to editing it. And that story currently sits at 36,569 words and 21 chapters. So I'm really happy with the way the weekend. And since it's the last day of January here, I thought I'd do a monthly recap. My total for the month was 40,281 words, or 21.1% of what I said my yearly goal was going to be, which was 200,000 words. Actually, my yearly projection now, just based on January, would be 500,000 words. I don't think that's going to keep up. I don't think it's going to keep up. But
I will say that last year at this time, you were cranking out the words like crazy. Then you got the job and you really slowed down, and it feels like you've finally figured out like what the process is to get back to those words.
That's exactly right. It took me, the better part of 9 months in order to probably more than anything figure out how to write in 100, 200, 300 word chunks, drop it, go do something else, then come back and write another 200, 300, 400 words. That's really been the big thing for me towards the end of last year and into this year. I think I have figured it out. As for my social media, which is now just Blue Sky, I did add 15 new followers over the week, and I currently have 267. At this pace, I'm only going to make it probably to about 1,000 by the end of the year. And my goal was 1,500, revised goal. So I'm going to have to put some more effort into it because I was kind of lazy this week. I think I only posted 3, maybe 4 times. And it's going to take a little bit more than that in order to get the kind of follower numbers I would like to have by the end of the year. So that's something I'm going to have to work on in February, see if I can do a little bit more.
Yeah,
overall, I'm happy with the week and I'm happy with the month.
You sound like with the social media, was it Sean Inman, I think, who did the Facebook talk at 20 Books 2022 that I really, really liked?
Right.
Was it I think it was 2022. And that's where I kind of wanted to get into the Facebook author page. And the big problem that I had was figuring out what to post. And he gave a bunch of examples, but even with his examples, I still struggle with it. Are you having that same kind of an issue, or you were just lazy?
I was, in some sense, I was lazy, unless I was just busy this week.
Mm-hmm.
I am kind of honing down on some things that work and attract followers, other things that I do just to track likes, which doesn't really do me any good in the long run. And I've also started hooking up into the writing communities online, figuring out what the really active hashtags are and stuff like that on Blue Sky. And that's really helping a
Oh,
lot.
good.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let me get into my recap from last week. Again, it was kind of a, I think it's because the weather was back to normal. It became a boring week for me. It wasn't like dodging snowflakes like I've been doing for the last. There's a we had some rain today and it was in the 40s for the first time. Oh, wait, it was in the 40s yesterday too for the first time in a while. And there's the snow is melting in my front yard and there's a newspaper in a plastic bag that showed up near the front of my yard near the road, and I'm so tempted to go out and look at the date on it because I think we've had snow on the ground since before Christmas, or maybe just that. No, we had a really hot day on New Year's Day, so probably the day after New Year's, January 2nd, we've had snow on the ground, so it's finally starting to go away. Although tomorrow it's going to go right back down to 20. But anyway, enough about the weather. I can complain about the weather all the time. So again, let me get back to my week here. So last Saturday, I was up and off to Chick-fil-A like I normally am to do my writing. But I did want to make a quick stop off to the casino first because, I needed a few bucks, and what better place to get it than the casino? So I was in there for approximately 10 minutes and I won $83. So the goal is I call it my 140 or bust rule. Put $100 in the machine. If I get to 140, I quit. If I get to zero, I quit, and that's the end of it. I don't always follow it, but I find that, in the past, I kind of came up with this because I found in the past when I would go to Vegas, I'd sit down at a machine and I'd play it. I get to like 175, 180, and I keep playing and I would just lose it all. Mm-hmm. And on a Saturday morning when I want to get to the Chick-fil-A before breakfast and write, I don't have a whole lot of time at the casino. So it's like, the minute I get to 140, done. I'm done. And, you get there more than you think, but you also lose it a lot more than you think if you keep playing. So, so I made a quick $83, which was nice. I stopped at the bank and there's a bank between there and Chick-fil-A. So I stopped there and deposited the money. And then I went to Chick-fil-A and this was me working on the changes in my chapter 4.5 that had to do with Sam's motivation. This is the thing that I discovered a couple of weeks ago that I was so excited to, why is this kid who's in his early 20s all of a sudden going to just jump in and try to solve a murder? So I came up with that a couple of weeks ago and started working into it, and started adding some words and finished a chapter. I started to edit chapter 5, but man, a birthday party came in, and holy cow, it was just screaming kids. And I, usually Chick-fil-A's, it's not loud, but it's not quiet, and they have awful music overhead. It's the same songs every week, and I'm usually okay with that. But holy cow, about 10 to 15 screaming boys, probably 6 years old maybe, and I had to leave. I couldn't take it.
Yeah, if you're not used to that, it will really grate on your nerves.
Oh. Yeah, I'm assuming. Do you have those kind of days at the library?
Yeah, we do. Not so much on my end, but in the children's room where I have to work it, periodically. But having had kids myself, I can just kind of fall back into dad mode and just ignore it like dads do.
So, yeah, I couldn't ignore it.
Yeah,
I just couldn't do it, so I took off. Not much the rest of the day. Writing wise, really anything wise, if I recall. I didn't put anything in the outline here, so it must not have been that exciting of a day. I think I probably played my dice football game for a while, made a couple YouTube videos, and that was probably it. Sunday, up early again, and I went to Panera, as I do when it's not golf season, and worked on chapter 5. And this is where I added a new scene to the beginning of it, and then I edited what was there to become the second half of the scene. And these are words that actually counted toward my yearly goal, or these new ones at the beginning. And then again, this happened. I don't know what the problem is, but on this day, this giant family came after church and literally sat down. They put 3 tables together and sat down so close to me that when I stood up, I had a hard time not running into them. And they were very loud, and which is, again, I'm in a public place. I'm not yelling at them, but it's really hard to do much when people are yelling and screaming. I don't know why it was 2 straight days, but it was very annoying. So in the evening, I was watching the football game Sunday, the championship games, and I grabbed my laptop because, the Buffalo game was pretty good. And again, for those of you who are new, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. I just like to buy T-shirts of some of the other teams that are out there, so that's why I'm wearing this. I was watching that game, and it was a close game. It was an exciting game, but I was also stuck into Novel Crafter, and I was looking at chapter 1, and I just started writing the first chapter of book 6. Now, don't get me wrong. I wrote 109 words, and it's really just the opening couple of paragraphs. But I thought, I'm sitting here plotting it. Let's just see how much I can write while I'm watching this football game. It took me a while. Probably took me about a half an hour because I was like peeking up at the football game over and over again as I was writing these sentences. And I have to go back and change something because the sentences were awful because, again, I was watching football at the same time. But I ended up counting 109 words, and I counted it toward my first draft words. And then is this the idea? Yes. I think this is the idea that it actually has to do with book 6 and not the prequel. I was trying to figure out why my characters in book 6 were all of a sudden at this kind of like vacation place. And I wanted to have a fun plot. I talked about this last week. I wanted to have a fun plot with some fun characters. The names were kind of different from what I normally do. And I think I told you I had a competitive eater, and I have a child star, and I have a YouTube star, or a child actor star and a YouTube star. And I have a woman who I think she's paranormal person somehow. I don't remember. But so I was really having some fun, and I decided to make it at an inn in Vermont. And I started thinking of the TV show Newhart, and I thought it'd be fun if Larry, Daryl, and Daryl showed up just for a brief scene. I just thought that'd be kind of interesting. But
it's important. It's Larry, Daryl, and my other brother Daryl.
Right, my other brother. Yeah, this is my brother Daryl. This is my other brother. No, you're right about that. Yeah. So what I decided to do with it is I decided to make it a true crime convention. I needed a reason why all these random people would be in this inn, this tiny little bed and breakfast style inn, all at the same time. I needed some reason that they were all connected, and I didn't know what that was. And I ended up coming up with the idea of a true crime convention. And then I took it a step further. In book 1, the one that's been published, I had Sam's parents, their death be a feature of a fake TV show I created for the Murder Network called Behind the Lens. It's all about how cameras are used to solve crimes, which is just like the See No Evil that's really on the ID network that I really like. And I thought, boy, wouldn't it be fun if a producer from that show came to this as one of the guests? He was the one murdered, and Sam was planning on confronting him, and then he was the one murdered. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to make Sam a suspect of the local police when they get there. So I kind of worked on that a little bit, and again, so I'm kind of excited about writing this story. Again, it's the next one I write after I edit the prequel novella, but I'm kind of pretty excited about writing this story. So that was an idea that I had come up with. That I feel like if I can come up with an idea like that every week, I'd be pretty happy.
Have you named this inn yet?
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna go to Novel Crafter because I'm gonna tell you what it is. It is. I think it has the word snow in it. Wait, here we go. Okay, so it's book 6. And I'll talk about this in a little while, but I am all in right now with this Novel Crafter. I'm having a blast with it. It's I'm starting to learn the best ways to use it.
Right.
It's called the Snowbound Haven Inn.
Okay.
That's what I call it. So it's got a big fancy name. But again, it's tiny. It's really small. And I did use ChatGPT's DALL-E to come up with images for each character. So now when I open Novel Crafter, I have and I'm looking at the codex, I have their description, and then I have these kind of cartoony pictures for each one, and I love it. I think it looks so cool. So yeah.
I'm thinking you might be missing an opportunity here.
Uh-oh.
You should really call it the Overlook Inn.
Yeah, I don't want to. That movie, I watched that movie when I was like 5 years old. I was behind a couch. I was watching it through the crack between the couch and the floor, and it's the last time I've ever watched a scary movie in my life.
So you were like Shelley Duvall in the corner.
I was. Yes, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to.
Okay.
No, we're good. We're good there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did that for a while Sunday night. And then, like I said, I went to ChatGPT and I used the picture tool, the DALL-E tool, to create pictures of each of my characters for Novel Crafter. And I love the way that it came out. I think it's so cool. Again, I'm really getting used to navigating around. I almost think that I do need a mouse when I use my laptop if I'm sitting at a restaurant or if I'm sitting at work on my lunch break, because there is so much clicking around. I still don't like the interface of Novel Crafter in terms of moving from chapter to chapter or moving around a little bit. They have a lot there, and there's only so much real estate on the screen they can use, so it's a little bit tough for them. But I'm really getting used to using it. I'm really enjoying using it.
It's really a program that was designed assuming people are going to be writing on a big screen, I think, not on a laptop.
I think you're right. I think you're definitely right. Unfortunately, I'm not going to. I have thought about. I don't know if you've ever seen them in the stores or anything, but there's these pieces that you can actually attach to your laptop that gives you a monitor on the left and the right.
Yep.
And I've thought about getting that, but then I feel like that would be really, really silly looking if I was sitting at Panera with like 9 monitors around me.
There's at least 2 people that I can think of off the top of my head that come to the library and work like that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
But even that, I mean, that's not a large monitor. That's still 3 small monitors. So it'd be kind of tough.
Sure. Right.
Yeah. So then Monday, the first thing I did, I was in the office now, and at lunch. The first thing I did was renumber everything. I turned chapter 4.5 into 5 and 5 into 6 and so on. And then I continued editing in chapter 6, which was chapter 5, where I'd left off the previous day. And then I ended up finishing the edit. Nothing in the evening. Again, I've kind of reverted back to how I was when I was working 5 days a week at my old job, where I would go to work during the day. I would write at lunch. I'd come home, get home at like 5:30, eat dinner, and pretty much be workless the rest of the night. So there's not a whole lot going on in the evenings for me, unless I just get something and just start grab my laptop and while I'm sitting on the couch scrolling through YouTube, just do stuff. So Tuesday, I took a bit of a longer lunch than normal on Tuesday, and I worked on chapter 7. This is a tense scene, although it's not quite. I'm calling it more of a quote beginning of the book tense, and not quite end of the book tense, which I think is more tense. But I rewrote a lot of it. I added about 300 words in the process, and I was pretty happy with it. I almost went to my writing club, my writers club chapter that I had pasted in there a couple weeks ago, and replaced it with this one, because I thought, man, I really want to know what people think of the tension in this scene. But the last scene that I read to them had a lot of tension, and they gave me a lot of pointers. So this other one is a different kind of scene that I'm going to read to them. It's funny, like, when Michaela was reading her story, she was going chapter by chapter, and we were giving her our thoughts on the actual story as a whole. But because I'm writing so fast, I'm just all over the place, which I'm reading chapters from different books. I'm moving back and forth to the first drafts I'm writing. So I'm trying to get more about, like, how's the tension? How's the character building? And I'm just picking random chapters that I like and doing it that way. So, yeah. Wednesday, I was back in the office again. Oh, no, Wednesday I worked from home. There was nothing writing related on that home, but I did have, and it leads to why we're using this new app that we're using if you're watching on YouTube. I did have Brightspeed come in and hook up fiber internet. Now, I had them about 2 years ago. I had them for 4 months, and it was god awful. Their customer service was awful. The service kept going down, probably went down 4 or 5 times in that 4 months I had it. And finally, I just got tired of it, and I canceled it. And part of the thing was, I thought, well, it's 2 years later. Maybe their service has gotten better. Maybe their customer service has gotten better. And it's hard to pass up, because it's $49 a month for 500 up and 500 down. Whereas right now with my Verizon 5G home internet, I'm paying $80 a month for 200 down and $10 up. So I got to give it a try. I mean, it's $30 less, and it's way faster. I got to give it a try. Now, I did ask the installers, give me an idea where you are right now, and they insisted upon the fact that their service is better. Unfortunately, they also insisted on the fact that their customer service is still god awful. So,
that's what I was laughing at.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the service is good enough to where I won't have to deal with the customer support, because I will always happily pay more for good customer support. I will happily do that.
Yep.
So hopefully the service is good enough. And I'm going to keep my Verizon 5G for a couple months. I'll pay for both of them for a couple months. It's fine. They did give me 1 month free, which is nice. The Brightspeed people did, so that at least I get to try it out for a month. But it made our, in the past, our videos have been sometimes a little choppy. If you're watching on YouTube, sometimes we lose the connection and have to come back on, and I have to stitch it together. For months I've wanted to blame Rich for this, but apparently it was my fault. So that happened Wednesday morning. Thursday I was back in the office. The first thing I did, since I was kind of happy with and kind of all in now using the Novel Crafter, was to go ahead and change my yearly service. It was gonna renew yesterday on Thursday, and I went in before it renewed, and I just bought a year's worth. So it's $14 a month. So instead of paying $14 a month, I paid $140 per year. So I saved $28 by doing it. And they do really, really good videos. This woman, Kate, I talked about last week, she does really good videos where she's not, for the most part, she's not doing tutorials. She's just using it to write a book, and you're just watching her, seeing all the buttons she's clicking and the things she's doing. I learned a little bit about plotting, how they plot in that program, when I was watching one earlier this week that I'm using for book 6. How you put your outline in there, and then as you're talking to the AI, you can kind of it refers to your outline as you're doing it, which I really like. I'm not really using this to write prose, but I am using it heavily for outlining and heavily for editing.
Does she kind of talk you through what she's doing, or is she just doing it?
Most of the time she's just doing it, but if somebody in chat asks the question, she will absolutely talk you through it. Those are the live videos she does. They're usually an hour to 2 hours long, but there are tutorial videos that are like 6 to 10 minutes long. If you just go to the Novel Crafter YouTube video and choose the video section, they're all there, and you know, different pieces of it. So, and then there are other people on YouTube that I've found, and there's one called, I think she's called Writing with AI. She actually does a lot with Novel Craft. There are 2 or 3 people that I've found who actually do it with Novel Craft, and they show you what they're doing the same way that a tutorial would show you. So I'll check in on some of those, but mostly it's just a Novel Crafter YouTube channel that I like, that I watch the most. In fact, I think she does a live video every Saturday at 11 or 12, something like that, maybe 10 Eastern time, and then you can always go back and watch the replay.
Okay.
Then I went in and started working on chapter 8, and this is the one that, you know, I feel like I might have added too much at the beginning. I remember when I was editing chapter 1, I went in afterward and I asked the AI, I'm like, what are my strengths and weaknesses of this chapter? And the AI said, you're taking way too long to get into the actual story. You've got 4 paragraphs of just setup. You need to get rid of those. Mm-hmm. So I went in and actually condensed them down to 1. And I'm wondering if I'm doing the same thing in this chapter 8. So I'm sure I'll deal with that once I'm done, probably tomorrow. I'll deal with that in terms of talking to the AI about it. You know, let me know as a developmental editor what it thinks. And
that was the first thing I did in this romance number 1 that I'm editing. When I went back and started on chapter 1, I ended up chopping the first half and, you know, just dumping it. It was a lot of it was backstory that was intermixed with dialogue and character interaction, but it wasn't really, you know, it wasn't really going anywhere. It was there to be an info dump. And they said, well, I'm gonna start with the action, just as if it was a thriller or something. Start with the action, and then we'll try to weave some of the stuff in later on.
Yeah, mine was the same. I have an argument taking place at the very beginning of the book, and like after the 3rd piece of dialogue, I had like 2 paragraphs of just backstory about my main character who's not even in the argument. He's just watching it.
Right.
And it was like, what? This doesn't need to be here. But then in the back of my head, I'm thinking, yeah, but how am I going to get this to the reader? Well, then as I take it out, and then as I'm writing the chapter and I'm working through the first, 3 or 4 chapters, I'm dropping those things in through dialogue, a sentence here, a sentence there. Right. And it's not just one big ugly paragraph.
Right. In fact, somewhere I read, I can't remember whose book on writing craft is. Yeah, if you ever have more than 2 sentences of backstory, it's too much.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I mean, you know, all together in one spot. Yeah.
Right. So. Yeah. So I got about halfway through chapter 8, maybe a little bit less than halfway, and then I ran out of time. It was a quicker lunch yesterday than the Tuesday was almost an hour and 20 minutes, whereas yesterday was about 45 minutes, just because of what I'm working on at work. So, and then today, you know, work from home, nothing writing related. Again, I didn't make it to the library Wednesday. I was going to go today, and I didn't make it today. It's just because home is very distracting. And so I'm going to continue to keep putting it on my schedule. I'm going to talk about it every week until I start doing it. It will happen. I'm sure it'll happen. It just didn't happen this past week at all. So played my football game after work and then sat down on the couch for about an hour. I ate a sub from Subway, and now we're podcasting. And there you go. That was my week. I feel like it was a pretty mundane, boring week compared to what I've had the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, for you. I mean, there's usually something really exciting that happens midweek or whatever.
Nothing.
No. Well, my week, again, was pretty boring. It was just the same thing day in and day out. As most working stiffs are. Last weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I had both days off from the library, so I did a ton of gardening, primarily on Saturday. I started a bunch of seeds indoors, did a lot of weeding outdoors, just continuing getting ready for the spring, the major spring plantings. I didn't do any writing on Saturday at all, but on Sunday, I did work for a couple hours editing romance number 1. And after all the adding and subtracting, I ended up with 79 new words on that day. Later in the evening, on both days, we just kind of sat around. I was probably doom scrolling or something. You can even doom scroll on Blue Sky if you really work at it. Monday was a really strange day, just in terms of the way it played out over the day, because I had to get up an hour early. I had an oncologist appointment at 8 o'clock. And then I had to skip out of work for a couple hours in the early afternoon because I had to go to an eye doctor. So it was kind of broken up today in a weird way. In between all that running around, I was able to actually do some writing on romance number 2. I got 2,080 words on it. Most of them were in like 100-word chunks, 100, 200-word chunks over short periods between helping patrons. It wasn't terribly busy, but it was kind of a consistent flow of patrons. I also got to put out my Black History Month display at the library, which I thought was hilarious because obviously I'm not Black and I don't know anything about Black history, but we don't have anybody else that would be willing to do it, so I just did it. And kind of made a mixture of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Ta-Nehisi Coates, and some other more or less radicals with just some classic, literature like, Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison and people like that. So we'll see what happens with that, see how it's received. I did get a chance to piddle around a little bit more with the Rexy classes during the evening. I did, I think I mentioned, pay up for another month of the Future Fiction Academy. I'm really liking it. I may end up paying for another month after this one. We'll see. I've got till February 20th to figure it out. And then just before bed, she made this earlier in the day, but she had made a big skillet of fried apples. So just before bed, we had vanilla ice cream, whipped cream, and fried apples, which really sat well. We probably, gained a pound or 2 overnight just by eating that before going to bed. And that was kind of a precursor to what was going to come for the rest of the week, because I think we ate that before bed every single day this week.
Nice.
Tuesday, I wasn't doing the work until noon, so the morning I spent taking off all those coverings and stuff we put over plants to try to save them when it went down to 20 into the teens actually last week. But I think we saved almost everything, and that was because we put down the blankets and stuff covering the plants, and then it snowed 8 inches on top of that before the temperatures really dropped. So they had a really heavy blanket on top of them. It's kind of like being up in living up in Michigan, because I recall, we would grow plants and we would never worry about covering them, because by the time it got super cold, there was always a foot, 2 feet of snow on top of stuff, and you didn't have to really worry about it too much. The only thing that's kind of up in the air right now are my lettuce plants, which did not look good coming out from underneath the covers and still don't look too hot. So just in case, on Tuesday morning, I planted some more lettuce seeds indoors to get them started, and that I'll pot them up and move them outdoors when it gets a little bit warmer. Once I did get to work, at noon, I met with the head of a local book club, and I can't remember if I mentioned this last week or not.
No.
But there's this book club that wants to come under the auspices of the library. They've been together for quite a while. The head librarian knows of them. They do meet in our library once every month. But what they want to do is they want to come under our umbrella, because then we can utilize our marketing channels to attract new members. And there are some very, I don't want to say big, because you never want a book club to be more than about 15 people, probably at the most 15 to 20. But we've got them all over the parish in terms of different library branches. So I'm going to kind of be the liaison to that group. I'm going to do the marketing for them. I'm also going to become a member, so I'll sit in on their monthly discussions and stuff of the books, which will be interesting, because a lot of them, the books aren't strictly romance, but a lot of them lean romance. So it'll be interesting to see how I do, because it's a bunch of women, of course.
Okay.
The thing that is kind of interesting that this book club does that I've never really thought about, but how do you pick your titles for a book club? I always thought, well, if you're a book club and you're in a library, the librarian probably picks them for you, because that'd be easy for a book club to do. But they apparently had been not this group, but the woman I talked to it was in another book club, or still is in another book club at another branch, where over time all they were getting were really hardcore, bare-chested romance kind of things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they finally decided, we're not going to do this anymore. Yeah. So what they do is, it's kind of like a lottery. What they do at the beginning of the year is they just throw, everybody gets 2 picks. They throw the names into a hat, and then they just kind of randomly draw out. So the ones that they have scheduled for this year, and they do have it scheduled a whole year ahead, basically run the gamut from kind of straight up romance to romantasy to pure fantasy. There's a mystery in there. I think there might be one thriller in there too. Yeah, I think there's a lead child in there. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to sit down and meet with these women over this. The other thing I didn't realize is that ever since the dawn of really big name book clubs like Oprah's book club, Reese Witherspoon's big book club, publishing houses, when they put out a fiction title, also publish might be too big of a word. They also, well, sometimes they do. They publish them in the back of the books, but they make available a series of discussion questions for the book, for a fiction book, which I found amazing. I didn't think, I could see doing it for nonfiction, but for doing it for fiction, so there's not even any stress for what are you going to discuss? How's the person going to lead the group, because the discussion rotates around people. All they got to do is follow the discussion questions. So this is going to be really low stress, on my part, certainly, and don't have to worry about too much, which is kind of cool. I'm interested. We probably won't get started until March because it's going to take that long to get all the ducks lined up and the approvals. That'll be seen. Once the evening rolled around and it got really quiet at the library because I worked till 9, 6 to 9 was dead. Had a lot of time to write in there, probably almost the whole 3 hours. So I wrote that new chapter on romance number 1, which turned out to be 3,024 words, I think. It was kind of long. We'll break it up later. Wednesday was a regular day at work, 9 to 6. I had an Excel class to teach just a little bit afternoon. I was really tired from working until 9 p.m. the day before, because when I came home, I basically stayed up till 12 or 1 in the morning. I can't remember what it was. It was stupid, but I did it. But by some miracle, we did have enough people to cover the reference desk during the day. So I got a few hours break before quitting time and was able to bang out almost 3,000 words on romance number 2, probably about 2.5 hours. So it was really high word count too, which made me really happy. In romance number 2, I'm kind of getting towards the end of the second act. So I'm kind of, barreling towards the climax, and generally my writing speed picks up when things are exciting, things are moving
along. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I didn't do anything in the evening, but flit around through YouTube. Thursday was hot here. We got up to mid 80s, I think, by mid-afternoon. And what made it bad is that our chiller was out at the library. So it got really warm inside the library, which made me really sleepy. And at one point, I was on my lunch break, and I ate my lunch real quick. It was really hot back in the back room. So I went out into the library, and we have these little study carrels that kind of have a wraparound plexiglass that's frosted. So, you really can't see who's in there or anything unless you're right in front of them. So I sat down there and I started, working on my laptop, writing. And at some point, I had lunch from 12 till 1. And at some point between 12 and 1, I fell asleep and woke up at 1:30. But nice. Nobody saw me, or if they did see me, they didn't care, and they just left me alone.
Nice.
But I am starting to really
write at work, you sleep at work. I need, man. I'm so jealous.
And I tell everybody I talk to, man, this is the easiest and the best job I've ever had. There's no stress to speak of. Although I almost killed a little Chinese woman this afternoon.
Seems like there could be some stress there, but okay.
Yeah. But for the most part, and you got all kinds of free time, and people waste it. I mean, I've got my, they play games on the computer, or they just scroll endlessly through YouTube or whatever. Not that, there's anything wrong with that, because I do that too at night. But at some point in the afternoon, all that caffeine I drank, trying to stay awake and being unsuccessful at it, did finally kick in. And I was able to write 2,324 words on romance number 2. And I'm really starting to see that power, like I said earlier, of knocking out just 100 words, 200 words when you get a little short break in the action.
Do you have a hard time when you do that? Like let's say you write 200 words, and then you have to do something for like 15 minutes. When you go back, you kind of have to refresh where you're at before you start the next 100
at least the last sentence or two. What I really try to do, if I can, if I have the opportunities, I try to just drop a couple of words in about where I want to go. Before I actually move away from it. That's not always possible. But again, I think this is just something I've been training myself to do over the last couple of months. How do I do this and keep the story in my head. And it just seems like I'm shifting a little bit mentally and just being able to keep it in my head. I don't know how or why, but in the evening, we were testing out the Riverside podcast recording software, and then I sat down and watched Gardener's World with Tammy, and of course, we ate another bowl of fried apples and ice cream with whipped cream on top.
Sounds so good.
I know. It is. I think we've got maybe one more night worth of it, but then she's probably going to do a whole nother pan, so we'll be upset.
Yeah.
And then today, Friday, was basically a repeat of yesterday, Thursday, in a lot of ways. It was, again, near 80 outside, although it was cloudy today. But at least they had fixed the AC. So it was actually comfortable in the library, and it wasn't so warm that I was falling asleep. But we got really slammed today, especially in the morning, particularly with technology questions like, why can't I do this on my Kindle? Why, what's happening here with my Fire or whatever? And I'm the one that they send them to, and I have no idea why, but they just say, "Oh, he can help you." So I was hopping around from one thing to the next, and like I said, I don't think I sat down for more than 5 minutes the whole day, except when I retreated back to the workroom for a couple of hours, an hour of lunch, and then an hour afterwards, during which I did bang out 2,643 words on Romance number 2 to bring me to that total of 10,000 plus for Romance 2. Now we're recording, and afterwards, I'm sure there's going to be more fried apples and ice cream.
Sounds good. Sounds like a great way to end the week.
I know.
Yeah.
And there's nothing new on my running list of future things to do. Right now, I'm really concentrating on the Future Fiction Academy, going through the courses and stuff they have there. So that's all that's going on there.
Mine's pretty similar. Nothing new on mine from last week. I did, keep expanding book 6 while I'm, when I just have time, keep working on the plot. And like I said, I wrote 109 words of the first chapter just Sunday evening, just because I was thinking about it. And I'm happy now that I have a reason for my main character Sam to be there, and then how it ties into not only the plot of that story, but it will tie into the overall series plot also. So, which is what I need for book 6, because book 7 is going to be the one that takes place back in his where he grew up, and his parents are definitely going to come into play there. And then book 8 is going to be my serial killer story, and then book 9 is going to be what solves the mystery of his parents' death from 10 years prior. So, in terms of my addicted to, I didn't really have a whole lot here. Again, it was a pretty boring week. I didn't really do anything more than something else. I do have this taco salad recipe that my mom, I forget where I don't remember where I learned this recipe. It wasn't my mom. I think it might have been a friend's mom, which is basically just lettuce, tomato, black olives, cheese, and then I put ground beef on top that I cooked with some taco seasoning. But then on top of that, you put French fries and crushed up Doritos and some ranch dressing, and it's fantastic. Wow. And I ate that a couple times this week. Sometimes I'll just make the ground beef and then I'll eat it for 3 days, and that's kind of what I did this week.
What kind of French fries do you use?
It's just anything that's like crinkly or nothing big.
Stuff just you crinkly. Buy? You mean freezer?
Just frozen ones. Yeah, okay. Frozen ones. I cook them in the air fryer for 10 minutes or so and throw them on top. And I had a salad. It was fantastic. I ate healthy. What was on it? Well, Doritos and French fries and ranch dressing. But lettuce and tomatoes. So.
Potatoes have lots of vitamin B. So
there you go. So so that was pretty much the only thing that I would call an addicted to this week.
Well, my addicted to, I'll let you guess. What was it?
I'm going to guess. I looked at the outline, but I know it's the apples and ice cream.
Yeah, fried apples and
really
ice cream.
Jealous. Yeah. All right. So coming up for me this week, I feel like it's going to just be another boring week. But boring is probably good because it's going to give me a lot of time to write. Saturday tomorrow, I'm going to do Chick-fil-A like I do. So in the winters, I do Chick-fil-A, and in the summers, I golf and then do Chick-fil-A afterwards. So we're in the winter right now. I did have a conversation with my buddy Dave, who I golf with in the summers, and we started talking about, all right, we're doing this. We're getting close. He's like, I bought clubs. And I'm like, I'm thinking about buying a 9-wood. So we're getting close. But right now, it'll be Chick-fil-A in the morning. I got a couple of errands I want to run tomorrow. I just mentioned the 9-wood. There's a golf store about 15 minutes past the Chick-fil-A. I might go there after and just take a look at the I want to buy a 9-wood. I'm a lot better with woods than I am irons, and if I can get a whole set of woods with like a 9-iron, I'm pretty happy. So
I didn't even realize they made 9 woods.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Currently, I have a 3, 5, and a 7, and I love all three of them. And if I can get a 9 to hit from about 150 yards out, then I'd be really happy. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I may go do that. And then I need to go to there's a giant clothing store called Socals that moved in a couple of years ago, and it took over not only the Sears that was going out of business, but like the 5 or 6 stores on the end of the mall that you could exit Sears and go into. Like the DMV was there, and there was like a Bath and Body Works and a kitchen collection store. And this Boscov's came in and said, we're going to take care of Sears, but we're also knocking all those stores out of the mall. And it's just a huge clothing store.
Wow.
And I do need to go there tomorrow for a few things also. So it's going to be kind of running around for the first half of the day and probably home by like 2 o'clock to really do nothing the rest of the day. I'll probably play my football game a little bit. And then, probably relax pretty early. Getting back into the office 3 days a week for the first time in a while. I actually am really tired.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm getting up at 5. And it's just weird because I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. She's like, I went to bed early. I don't know why I'm so tired. And I'm like, I don't think it matters what time you go to bed. If you get up at 5, I think you're just going to be tired.
Right.
So, and that's kind of what's been going on. So, and then Sunday, Panera in the morning. No football for the first time on a Sunday since July, which makes me very sad. I do want to check out the spring football league. I don't know what it's called. I think is it the XFL? Is it? It's not Arena. I don't remember. I don't know what it is, but I keep seeing previews for it. It was there last year. I watched very little of it. I think I need a favorite team, or maybe I need to be in a fantasy league to actually care about it.
Is
this
the one that some famous celebrity owns?
I have no idea. I believe you're right. I believe it was the XFL and then it was bought by someone, but I don't know who it was.
I want to say The Rock bought it.
That'd be the guess that I would have.
Yeah.
Because he played football. I mean, he played for the Falcons.
Right.
So it wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, did he? He was actually in the pros? I think he
was an offensive lineman for like 2 years, I think. Okay. Or am I thinking of somebody else?
I know he played for Miami.
No. The Hurricanes college or Dolphins?
Yeah. No,
okay.
Yeah, the Hurricanes.
Yeah. So I think he might have played for the Falcons for a year or two.
Okay, maybe so.
But anyway, so I'm I may check that out. Plus, baseball's getting ready to start. Pitchers and catchers, at least for the Cleveland team, report on February 11th. So I'm going to get back into fantasy baseball. My buddy texted me, "Are you going to be in the league this year?" And I said, "Yes." So I have a couple of fantasy baseball leagues. So at least I'll have some sports going because February is just like the worst month for sports. After the Super Bowl ends, I mean, I have golf. That makes me happy. But actual like contact sports or the ones I grew up with there's nothing. I'm not a baseball fan, but I do like playing fantasy baseball. I just like watching the sport. It's boring. Yeah. And I'm not, even though the Cleveland Cavaliers NBA team has the best record in the league, which is shocking. They're like 39-9 right now. I just don't like the sport like I did when I was a kid. I don't know if I've changed or the game has changed or what, but I do kind of box score watch with them, but I can't sit and watch a game.
Basketball was one of those games that, I played when I was younger in school, because up until high school anyways, I was taller than anybody else.
Yeah.
But I never enjoyed it either. I don't know why.
And college is different than the pros, and college is just boring.
Yeah.
Just pass, and then find a shot. It's just kind of boring. So I don't really have a lot of sports to watch in the next couple of months. So I might check out the spring football league whenever it starts up. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday this week, I'm in the office, which means I'll write or edit at lunch in all 3 of them. I should get anywhere between an hour and 20 each day at lunch to do that. Wednesday, I'll be working from home. And again, I'd like to try to go across the street to the library. We'll see if it happens. But Friday, I am working from home, but I'm taking a half a day Friday. It's my second half a day. I'm going to try to do, again, I have 20 vacation days, which to me is 40 half a days. I'm not going anywhere this year. I'm not taking any vacation this year. So what I'm going to try to do the first half of the year is about every third week, take a half a day on Friday to do some writing. And then once after July 4th, I should be able to take every week the rest of the year, half a day on Friday, except for the weeks that there are holidays. But on weeks there are holidays, I get that extra day anyway to write. So I should get to the point where I'll have 6 writing sessions a year by July a week by July 1st. But between now and then, it'll be every second to third week I'll be taking a half day. And there's like 3 or 4 holidays between now and then. So I'll have a pretty good amount of writing time. And then my goal for this week is to just get through chapter 10, which was my goal last week that I failed at. This week, I'm only a chapter and a half away from it, so I should easily succeed at it. I'm really just giving myself something that I'm pretty sure I'll easily succeed at. And then we'll just see how far I can get with it.
Well, my coming week is going to be a little bit broken up. Tomorrow, I do have to work at the library. I'm going to see if I can pick up some writing time and knock out maybe 1,000 words or so. When I get home at night, I think it will be early to bed. I've been, again, kind of sleepy during the week. I don't know if it's the changing weather or what, but um, I got to try to catch up on it a little bit. Sunday, I have off. So after a morning at the church, if the weather cooperates, I'm going to be out in the yard. I don't anticipate doing any writing on Sunday, but you never know for sure. I Because of the role I've been on lately, I really want to keep that going as long as possible. So I got to be careful that I don't go too many days in a row without doing at least a little bit of writing. After tomorrow, we're going to have another warming trend again. So, actually, this is from the previous, but we are going to have another warming trend, and we're going to see highs that may be pushing 90 before the end of the week. Wow. It's not gonna be a lot of it, but there'll be some. Monday through Thursday I work. So with any luck, I'll be finding time to write during the day, assuming everybody comes in like they're supposed to. I do have a doctor's appointment on Tuesday morning. That's going to kind of break up my ability to do much gardening during that morning that I have off. So I may just go to the doctor and then come home and walk through the process of ordering a pair of eyeglasses from Zenni.
Yay! That's where mine from.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm going to give it a try. My wife, she's kind of skeptical. She's going to go to a regular optometrist, but I'm going to give it a try and see what it's like. I just kind of did a quick scan of the website. What do you pay for your glasses overall, roughly?
From Zenni?
Yeah.
So I've only bought this one pair, and they were like $30.
Okay. Yeah,
with the lenses, with the prescription.
Okay, I was thinking you get into them for like under 100, for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so I was gonna give them a try and we'll see what happens. It'll be my first time. I want to see what the quality is like because they're undercutting an optometrist by so much.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah. So that's going to be the week, Monday through Thursday. Just work and cram in writing where I can. I'm going to try to get in at least another 7,000 to 8,000, maybe 7,000 to 10,000 words if I can on romance too. It's getting pretty close to being finished. Maybe another 10,000 words will finish it off. I think it's going to be a little bit shorter than Romance 1, just given where I'm at in the story right now. It'll probably get longer in editing because I think I may put in a subplot that's keeps waving its hand in front of me that it really wants to be in there, so I might do that.
So that'll be 2 first drafts. I would assume you're editing the first one. What do you have a plan yet on what you're going to do with them? Are you going to write a third one first, or are you just kind of just writing right now?
No, I'm going to write a third one. Yes. And then whether I continue or whether I just get them out, I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
We'll see. Friday is a day off, as is Saturday and Sunday next weekend. So probably Friday I'll be just working around the house. We can podcast early next week instead of waiting until late in the evening. But at the moment, I'm not planning on doing any writing on Friday. So if I am going to get that 7,000 to 10,000 words, it's going to have to be tomorrow and Monday through Thursday. And in terms of stuff to share, it's not really anything interesting to share. I just thought it was kind of hilarious that during the week that LLM DeepSeek from Canada emerged, or from China emerged as a competitor to OpenAI with using vastly inferior chips to power it. And I just thought it's the funniest thing I've ever heard, probably in the last decade, that they just cribbed AI. In fact, or OpenAI. In fact, from the stories that have come out the last couple of days, they actually used OpenAI to help design their systems. I thought it was hilarious.
Killed the stock market on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday morning.
Yeah, the AI companies lost $1 trillion in one day.
Intel, I think, got crushed. Yeah.
Yeah. How this evolves over time is going to be really, really interesting.
I mean, using ChatGPT to create a competitor to ChatGPT is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's just the most obvious thing,
Yeah, right. Yep.
Yeah. How can they be surprised that it actually happened?
Yeah. All right. I actually don't have anything to share this week, so that is going to be the podcast for this week. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Neither do I. So if you want to get in contact with us, I'm trying to learn how to do this for the first time. I'm gonna get fancy now. If you want to contact me, you can email me. It's jerry@jerryevanoff.com. And let me just do that real quick. Look at that. Look how fancy that is.
How about that?
The website is jerryevanoff.com. I can pop that up too. And then we're on Patreon, patreon.com/New Author Podcast. Do I have that one? Oh, I created that one too. Look at that.
How about that?
This is amazing.
Oh, but you spelled it wrong.
No! Did I? Wait, go back. I forgot the R in podcast. Oh, damn technology. Okay. Anyway, so that's New Author Podcast. It's New Author Podcast. Again, we're on Spotify. We're on all your favorite podcasts. Just search for New Author Podcast. And we're on YouTube. And you might be watching our videos right now. There you go.
Yeah. And you can find me or email me, I should say, at rich@richkacy.com. And I've consolidated, again, all my social media accounts. I'm only going to be on Blue Sky going forward for the time being. And you can find me at Kacy himself on Blue Sky. And my website is richkacy.com.
Right. Oh, yes. I didn't create one for the Blue Sky, so that'll be next week.
Okay.
All right, so that is going to be it for us this week, and hopefully this new recording software worked out for us, and I think, Rich, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give it a couple of days and go ahead and buy it, and then if it looks good, I'm going to try to set up like a theme or a layout or something different, because you can do some fancy stuff once you actually get it. So that should work out well. And next week, anytime after probably 5 o'clock Eastern time probably works for me. So.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, everyone, thanks for watching or listening or whatever you're doing, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Yeah, take care. Have a great week.